Hi, today I'd like to share a story with you about how valuable a dental staff training level system can be. And that it's a situation that happened in the office a few weeks ago that I think really well communicates the value of having an organized staff training program already in place so that when situations come up, you already know how to handle them. So the story goes, a few weeks ago, had a patient come into the office planning to get a tooth extracted. Unfortunately, her blood pressure was just simply too high. Now, my assistant, well trained, was working for a specialist that day. She also works for my GPs. But that day she's working with my specialist. She takes the woman's blood pressure, simply too high, waits a little while, follows the correct clinical protocol. Still too high, goes to the specialist and lets the specialist know, hey, this isn't working. Specialist, of course, in the middle of another patient says, well, let's give it a little bit more time, try it again. When the assistant goes back to the patient to take the blood pressure one more time, now the patient is getting frustrated and says, well, I think the reason that my blood pressure is too high, it isn't my fault, it's that you're taking it wrong. You've got the cuff on simply too tight around my arm. Now, after this is the third time around, this assistant is now getting frustrated. So she goes back to the specialist saying, I'm not getting anywhere with this patient. Her blood pressure is too high. I'm not going to be able to do anything with her. This, of course, frustrates the specialist because she's hoping that her assistant can take care of this situation. So, meanwhile, a little behind the scenes story, we look in the chart. It turns out that this patient had been in for the exact same situation 2 weeks before, in for an extraction scheduled with this specialist, and again turned out that at that time blood pressure too high, and we had again referred her out to her physician to get control of the blood pressure and then come back. Would be more than happy to take out that tooth. So clinically, obviously in this case, the dentist comes in, smooths things out with the patient, and again, we can't see you until your blood pressure is well controlled. However, this is where I really feel that a dental staff level system, just that training program, it really can shine. Because here's the follow-up to how we handled that here in the practice. So first of all, I sat down because I knew this assistant was upset. She came to me, she had some tears, she was just really frustrated and felt that the patient was telling her she didn't know her job, the specialist was frustrated with her, she just felt embarrassed in a lot of different ways. So we sat down. The first thing that I did was I went back and I printed out the I think it's level 2 assistant section on blood pressure and how all of our instructions and protocol on how to take a blood pressure. I sat down and reviewed that with my GP dentist first, mostly because they're the ones in the practice that really help to keep our training systems updated. Reviewed the protocol. We found, although clinically it was very clear, on the communication end, what do you say to the patient? How do we handle this? What's the follow-up? So that hopefully they don't just come back into our schedule without having their blood pressure taken care of. That area, it really needed some updating. So my GP dentist did some updating, wrote down what the protocol would be that they were comfortable with. At that point, I took the protocol, the updated version, to the specialist as well and simply said, hey, how does this look to you so that we can do a better job when this comes up in the future? Looked good to the specialist. Next, I can take the updated protocol to my assistant meeting and give a copy not just to the one assistant that had this situation occur, but to all of the team members, both of the FDAs, all of the other assistants in the practice. That way everybody can review it and we can kind of talk, hey, this one assistant ran into this situation and it was frustrating, so we thought we'd review with everyone so that in the future everyone knows exactly how to handle this problem. So I felt like this story that just came up in the practice literally within the last 3 to 4 weeks, that this was a really good example of having just of what the value is of having a dental staff training program already in place. If it's something you want to learn more about or consider for your own practice, I've set up a new page on my website. It's called Dental Staff Training Levels, and I'd love to talk to you about it. Thanks.